As someone who is the youngest of four brothers, I used to approach today's gospel with a little bit of fear. You remember Jesus says to his disciples, whoever is angry with his brother will be liable to judgment, and whoever says to his brother, Raka is an Aramaic word whose closest translation would be something akin to the word blockhead, will be answerable to the Sanhedrin. And whoever says, you fool, will be liable to fiery Gehenna. I used to think as a young boy, I better apologize to my brothers very soon for calling them blockheads so that nothing bad happens to me. The truth is that we love each other dearly. Despite its dramatic language, however, today's gospel, and it's very dramatic, isn't it? This gospel is less about fiery judgment than it is about love. And today Christ reminds us that reconciliation and forgiveness are totally indispensable parts of the love of God. It is part of that love. Every time we gather before the altar, wherever we are, my friends, we come to offer the gift of ourselves fully to God in love. This last weekend's solemnity of Corpus Christi was a powerful reminder of that, wasn't it? How our whole selves, everything we say and do, can be an offering to God. Before you bring that gift of yourself to the altar, the Lord says, you must first reconcile with each other, then come and offer your gift. This is why we exchange the sign of peace right before we receive communion at Mass. We do not want to walk before the altar, my friends, offer ourselves if what we're offering is a bitter, angry, and divided heart. No. How can we give ourselves fully to Christ if our hearts are filled with anger for each other? There is such a thing as righteous anger, my friends. We might feel, well, I have a right to be angry about what I'm angry about. But truthfully, sometimes our anger starts out that way. But if it stays in our hearts long enough, it usually begins to fester, doesn't it? Usually begins to fester in bitterness, resentment, and spite. And if that is what is filling up our hearts, there is no room for God, who is love. Two things cannot occupy the same space at the same time. Christian has to be able to take that anger, even if it's righteous, and reconcile somehow in his heart, of course with the Lord's help, and let it be transformed into love, the kind of love which does not wish ill on somebody else, the kind of love that prays for others, even those who have wronged us. Love cannot flow from our hearts, my friends, truly to anyone, our spouses, our friends, our children, if anger and hostility are filling our hearts up. It will literally block it. And it will end up alienating us from those we love, and ultimately from God. There's a reason why Jesus tells us to love our enemies and pray for those who persecute us. There's a reason why he does that. Because he knows that for us to be fully human, fully alive, fully able to love, like we want to love, anger and hostility cannot reign in our hearts. Love, reconciliation, mercy must. You know as well as I do that that is not always as easy as it sounds. Actually, it doesn't sound easy, and it's not easy. Christ's challenge to us, and it is a challenge to us today, is not always going to be an easy challenge, but in a way there's a real beauty to it in its simplicity, and it's profound. We must first empty our hearts of anything that is not of God, for our hearts to be filled with God. Maybe the greatest way we can do that, Christ reminds us, is to start simply by saying, I forgive you, to each other.